And already we run into these opposite forces to us, forcing us to question the validity of our beliefs. Oh, let me pause for a moment. I was asked a question. I forget what the question was. Oh, yes. What happened with, well, Noxious? Let us then focus. This does not feel like the right amount. Is this it? Does this match his pattern more? Oh, he was a very high in openness individual. I believe so. Let us then open. And this was the space he felt stuck in. This space. Small indeed. Well, here is what happened, and I will speak through him here, for I believe it is him you wish to hear. Well, to be honest, to be entirely forthright, to really tell you what's going on here, I came upon a realization a long time ago, but I really couldn't change things, which is a problem. There's something about streaming that a lot of people do not realize. Many things about streaming people don't realize. And the first of these things is the fact that it does take its toll on your ability to cope with repetition. What I mean by that is, do not hit my face. I am busy channeling the soul of a repurposed man. You will not interfere. Let us resume. So, one of the things I realized is I'm a creative person. Now, you don't know me for that because I started playing Hearthstone in 2013 or something. And although I tried to channel some of the creativity in the content I was doing, it turned out to be very difficult. I mean, I can come up with Randuin Rin, I can come up with cool deck lists, I can come up with stuff to explore, that's true, but at the end of the day, there's always a point where it gets stale. Right, the game gets stale, the metagame is figured out, the decks that meme do not meme anymore, they just fail miserably, they fall flat on their face, and there's nothing else to do. Now, I tried to do many things, I tried to play other games, I tried to maybe shift my center of interest to, I wouldn't say variety streaming, but just playing other things, right? And so, what I came upon as a realization is that I was still not satisfied. I never really looked at my viewership numbers as a metric for success, because I would tell you, and you would not believe me if I told you, Gwent had me at a higher subscriber count than I've ever had at playing Hearthstone, which is interesting because you would think, well, Hearthstone is what made you bigger, right? That is where you started, that is where things got real for you as a streamer. Well, yes, that's true, but that's actually not where I peaked. And so what I realized was, it wasn't the fact that I wasn't getting viewers or subs that kept me from enjoying streaming after a while. It was the fact that I was merely a guy playing video games. And you know what? You know how many people play video games in front of their computers now in 2017? Well, a metric fuckton. And I thought there's really nothing there for me to differentiate myself, aside from, well, streaming more, having a schedule, being a part of complexity, trying to compete, cast, those things are all a part of the picture, right? Well, really, it did not fulfill me. I'm a creative person at heart. I grew up reading and writing. I love to write. Writing is one of the things that I love the most. I'm not as proficient in it as in French. Let's say I were to speak French, I would be much more eloquent than I am when I speak English, which is something maybe that's hard to get across as a point. But I needed a way, or at least I thought I needed a way, to get that creativity out of this place. It's not that I was going crazy, but there's something about streaming after a while that becomes a 9-to-5, a lucrative one, a 9-to-5 that you can do from home, but it is still a job. And you need to treat it like one, because if you don't treat it like one, it fails, right? But in order for you to be fulfilled as a creative person streaming, I'd say that's very difficult. I don't know how people do it, if really many people do it. I feel like creativity is it's a trait of personality you don't choose. It kind of chooses you. You don't really choose to be dissatisfied with repetition and boredom. Streaming was great the first year or two. right? And then it became something you do out of habit. It's morning, I go on the computer, boot up Hearthstone, start the stream. Well, I loathe that. I absolutely loathe that. And I have tried to break that pattern. I tried to do something interesting, such as maybe, you know, fantastic card reviews with extremely long-winded explanation, Mechatork's Workshop, trying to create cards to get the creativity out there, trying to analyze. You remember Soul of the Class, the series I never got around to finishing? Well, it got redundant at some point, and I thought, well, there's not much to talk about here. That creativity, this analysis of systems, is something I love, and I thought, well, how could I maybe transform this as something that can be streamed? And I thought, 2 years ago, I thought, well, maybe I could create... Oh, actually, the idea goes back further than 2 years ago, but the actual conceptualization of the character goes back about 2 years ago. I thought, well, what if I were instead streaming a character, a professor, a mad alchemist? Well, I don't have the setup to do that, right? Like, I don't have everything I need, but I'm doing my best. And, one of the things that I realized back then is this would take a lot of effort, a lot of setup that I don't have. I don't have a room, I don't have a studio. There is definitely no way that I can occupy the entire living room that we had at the time to do a studio, to stream something that really I didn't know if it would work. And I had to reach a breaking point, I guess, to really commit to it. But more than that, when I was ready and willing to do it, the kid was born, and so that's about 18 months late to the party. Professor Nox is about 18 months late to the party, if I have to be honest with you, and I've been meaning to get it underway. Now, I don't know exactly where all of this is going to lead, but my hope is that I can accomplish my dream of streaming for a living, as well as my, I would say, fulfill that need to get the creativity out there, and I hope that there's some appreciation maybe for some of the things I do. You know, I'm not particularly poetic in life, I'm not particularly prosaic in life. Prosaic, confusing word. I'm not either of these things, but I think this is something that Twitch could use. And it drives me, actually. I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking, well, what am I gonna do today? Oh, well, I'm gonna act a character out. I'm going to put myself in a character's shoes, and I'm going to try to make something more out of my rote habit of streaming than just sitting down and streaming. So I thought that was absolutely interesting for me. So hopefully that cleared things up. I really hope it clears things up. It isn't... I've actually, and now I'll close on this parenthesis. I've heard it said that it's something of a desperation move. No viewers, just disguise yourself as a costume and grow big. It's like, no, I could go work a real job instead, but I don't. I could keep streaming Gwent for 8 hours a day and probably make a living off of it. More so than I am now, I believe. I don't know how many oozlings are in the vats, so to speak. But the point is, I grew bored and psychotically averse to logging on. The idea of sitting down to play video games just... it gnawed at me. I didn't feel like doing it, but now it's different. So hopefully that clears things up completely. And you can resume your enjoyment, hopefully, of the Professor Nox character. Well, that was quite enlightening, wasn't it? Definitely very enlightening. Sometimes you glean truth from somebody else's mind you didn't know. Repurposing the man did not tell me anything about him. Still, I need to channel his thoughts before I can make sense of them. It is as though writing the thoughts solidifies them, makes them concrete. That is what it is.